So listen, I want to kick it off with you, Walt, because I'm a basketball guy, and I understand that you played college basketball at Jacksonville State.
Yes, sir.
Break down your game for me.
Um, I was a slasher, 100%. I didn't really develop a jump shot until like my sophomore year. But my intentions were always to try to get to the rim and finish over people. I was a defender. Um, kind of like a poor man's Draymond Green, if you will. I felt like on a lot of the teams I played on, I wasn't a star. But I was the guy you need. That's going to guard the best player on the other team. That can go get you buckets when you need them. But I did what my coaches needed me to do all the dirty work.
I saw you were listed at 212 in those days. That's a little while ago, mind you.
Yeah.
We've all put on a little weight since then, but you've added a lot of muscle and a lot of size in that. How did that come about that you were able to put on so much mass?
Well, what happened was honestly right after basketball, before I started fighting, I kind of went into like a depression, man, because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I had got up to like 315 pounds. And so I just one day woke up and was like, man, you know what? I'm an athlete. Like, let's go get back in the gym. And I started going to train again. I started running and lifting weights, and it just kind of naturally happened. Because I had started so high and it just kind of turned that fat into muscle, man, and just kind of carried it, as I got older.
Talking about depression, is this kind of the post athletic career? Like, what do I do with myself kind of type of thing?
Yeah, yeah, dude, it was terrible because I was just so committed to playing professional basketball. Like I felt like I had such a great shot. I had so many opportunities as far as like getting to go to camps and play against some of the top guys, and I did well, but I just never got the shot that I was looking for. And knowing what I know now, I might have taken the European route. Um, but at the time, I was just a kid that was just from the time I was 5, I wanted to be in the NBA. You know what I mean? So I didn't really understand, the business side of it. Go get an agent, go do this, go do that. And so I just kind of stepped away. And then I had my first son. And that kind of really, really slowed me down a little bit. And I just kind of spent time, being a dad. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, you still got this athletic fire burning, man. So you need to get back in the gym. I started playing ball again. And then that's kind of how I met my first coach. I was just in Gold's gym one day, lifting weights and shooting basketball. And he's like, hey, man, you ever thought about fighting? And I was like, not really. And then it just started doing it, man. Here we are.
I never got as tall as you. I'm not very good at basketball. I was more of the defender too, but I'm 5'8", so I didn't quite get to that level where I could
Oh,
kind of.
you were pesky then. You were in the jersey.
I went for
You
everyone's
know,
knees. I was the guy
yeah,
that boxed after
you're
me,
up
and the
under,
tall guys hated me.
bro. It's the worst when you get a guy 5'8", 5'9", getting up under you, and you're trying to handle the rock, and they're just putting their hands down there, taking it for. Oh man, I can imagine.
You would have hated me for sure.
I
Um,
already know. We've been best of friends off the court though, for
I'm
sure.
sure. I'm sure. But listen, we haven't seen you in the cage for 2 years now. So obviously, the question that I think most people would ask now is, where have you been?
I've been rebooting, man. I think I came back after I lost my daughter way, way too fast. I was running from what I was dealing with, and I felt like the only way to deal with it at the time I thought was to fight, to train, which it helped me in some senses, but I wasn't doing enough self maintenance outside of the gym. I wasn't taking care of myself, thinking about things and from a mental standpoint. I felt like every fight that I had after that, I was physically, where I needed to be, but mentally, I was this man. I can tell you exact moments in each fight where I was winning and then I just checked out, and I knew talking to my therapist, he was like, hey, you can either keep going down this road and keep losing, or you can take some much needed time off, reset, and then come back better. And that's what I did. And I just stepped away from the sport for 2 years, man, and just kind of was a fan. I went to events, I talked to guys, hung out with guys, but I just didn't train. I just like stayed away from it. And man, it just man, it jumped everything right back off. Man, I feel like I'm making my MMA, debut next Saturday. Man, it's exciting. I'm ready to go.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I did want to ask you though. You mentioned kind of moments in the fight where you'd kind of there would be, I guess, a check out kind of thing. What would be the kind of mentality? Do your thoughts lead back to things outside of the cage, or is it just you kind of just lose the will to kind of keep fighting her?
The will, man. I'll give you an example of what I mean. When I fought Overeem, who is one of my idols. Like anybody that knows me will tell you I'm an Overeem fanatic. In that fight, I'm supposed to be the most locked in, the most excited, the most, whatever. I remember vividly before they announced us walking back and forth and not feeling anything. And as a fighter, that is the worst place to be. If you're not nervous or anxious or something before you're fighting, especially a legend like Overeem, you're not really where you need to be. And I just remember that vividly. I was like, man, I just looked over at him and I was like, okay, that's Overeem, whatever. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't, and I still could have won the fight. That's the,
Had
that's
success
what
in
I,
that fight,
you
yes.
know, as you can probably see my coach right here, Coach Christian walked by. He told me after that fight, he's like, bro, you're not even 10% of yourself right now. You almost beat Overeem. You should have beat Overeem. He said this, I was about to retire. I was pissed. And I just didn't know, what I wanted to do. And he's like, bro, you still got it. You just got to get it right here. It's like, you need to take some time. And, he's always been there for me and helped me in that aspect. And over the last 2 years has been the main catalyst for my mental mindset. He always tells me to steal your mind. And I feel like my mind is a steel trap right now. I've given up so many things in my personal life. I've changed a lot of things in my life. I'm a totally different person from the inside, not just the outside. So I'm excited to show the world next Saturday.
Sure, sure. And now you return. You just hit the big 4-0 last month, which,
Yes,
for
sir.
a lot of fighters, that's like, well, that's kind of overhill, but heavyweight's different. Heavyweight skews older anyway. That's a
Hmm.
little bit different for you, but you are also coming off of that, the 3 fight skid, 2 years removed though. So where's your mentality at exactly going into Josh Parisian?
Man, I'm so locked in, bro. It's crazy. The diet's on point, the training's on point. Um, I just feel like it's a new me, man. Like I said, it's like almost like I'm making my UFC debut. We've got so much anticipation, so much excitement. I've done everything I need to do in this camp to be the best me that night. And I feel like that's where I need to be, where I haven't felt like this in almost 2 or 3, 4 years. When I was in the top 10, I felt this feeling like, oh man, we're going to fight X, Y, and Z, like where everybody's pumped up. It's just a good feeling, man. And headspace I'm in is amazing. And I think I saw something on Facebook about a week or two ago, and it said a peaceful warrior is a dangerous warrior. And I'm in such a great peace right now in my life, man, in every aspect, from my marriage to my training to my kids. Everything is just done this for me. And I'm ready.
That's wonderful. Obviously everybody loves to hear that. So I guess kind of going back again to these last couple fights though, we saw there was kind of in the second round would almost be kind of where things would run out of steam. A lot of people would watch those fights and say, without knowing where your mindset was at, like you described, that oh, he just kind of runs out of steam, runs out of gas in maybe round two or so. You would push back at that idea, it sounds like, and say it's really
100%.
more about the mentality.
100%. For instance, like Tybura, I whooped him for a whole round. The mistake I made in the second round was purely mental. It wasn't a fatigue mistake. We had drilled that position for 13 weeks. But I got there and I froze. Like I said, I can tell you every moment in the fight where it was like, okay, this is where your laps went. You just checked out and you weren't yourself. You weren't there. It's not about conditioning. That's never been an issue. I feel like, it's always here. And I've gotten that in check. And so, you know, they need to be watching out. You know what I mean? Like, watch all the film you want. Like, I'm never the same fighter in any fight. It's always something different. I always got new wrinkles. Mr. Jones, I went to Albuquerque with him for 2 months and got some new wrinkles. So I got so much more that people haven't gotten to see. So I'm excited to come Saturday to be able to show all of the tools.
I'm glad you brought up Jon. I was just about to ask you about him because, yes, like you said, you went out to see Jon Jones to train with Jon Jones. How did that opportunity
Mhm.
come about? Do you guys have any
Bro,
history?
yeah, we do actually. I fought with John on numerous cards, and we used to be managed by the same company. And then we just kind of hit it off, man. It was just kind of weird. Like I fought. I think it was 197 was the first time we fought on the card together, and he had personally requested that I be in his locker room, and I thought that was crazy. Because I wasn't, it's like my second, third year in the UFC. Like I didn't, think anything about, locker rooms and all that. But I walked in and everybody's like, "Hey, your locker room's over here," and I'm like, "What?" So it's just me and him in this locker room, and it was back when they used to bring in the lockers, the portable lockers, and it had my name and it had his name over here and all my stuff, and I was like, "Oh crap!" Well, I got word through his manager he wanted to hang out after the fight, so we went and hung out, and then from that point on, we developed a relationship. Well, over the last 2 years, he's been checking in on me. We talk and stuff like that. But the week before, or literally the day I got the call from him, I was out with my buddy, and I just got this feeling, man, like I want to fight bad, and I hadn't had that feeling in so long. So I was like, you know what? I was like, John, watch this. And my friend's name's John as well. I said, watch this. And I took a selfie and I put up under construction, just as a just to kind of get myself that like, all right, let's do this. And everybody went crazy. They're like, oh my God, you're coming back. When are you fighting? Who are you fighting? And I'm like, oh, this feels amazing. Okay, I need to follow this feeling through. We go eat dinner at John's house, and I get a phone call from Bones. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, be quite honest, I've been sitting on the couch and I'm not in shape. And he goes, I don't care. He goes, when do you want to leave? And I said, Tuesday. He goes, all right, done. Get on a plane Tuesday, and the rest is history, bro. And I've been on fire since I left from down there, man. It's just been a one-way mission to get back in that octagon.
So what's the biggest takeaways from your experience going out that way, training with him?
Bro, his mentality, bro, it's elite. The way he approaches the mental side of fighting. Uh, yes, he's the most skilled, the most talented, but his mind is something that I really, really admire. And I have always admired. I've always, that was our kind of common bond connection kind of thing, because we think a lot alike. It's really weird. Like when we're together, people think we're brothers, like, because we're so similar in a lot of ways outside of the octagon. But it was just the way he approaches the fight game, how he studies. He would have us bring notebooks to practice and, take notes on certain things. And he would allow us to watch the film and then give our input. And it kind of brought that back into my camp, with my brother Osa, who just got here. We sit down and we meticulously watch guys. And I've never done that in my career. I've never studied film like this. I've never sat down and just been like, okay, I'm going to digest this guy. But I really took that from John, and it's almost obsessive. I use the word petty, because when people say this guy's really good at this or that, he gets offended and he wants to show people I'm better than you at that. So watch this. And that kind of rubbed off on me. Like I get offended when not that you said it, but like people are like, oh, conditioning. I work hard. You know what I mean? I train really hard. I do more than the average heavyweight. And I take those things in the training with me. That chip's there. And that's what I'm excited to show, Saturday. It's like, all right, this is the full package. This is what, the world was on the cusp of seeing before I lost my daughter. And so I'm excited, like I said, about it, man. I can't wait.
Are there plans for you two to work together again?
100%. He wanted me to do my camp there. We just missed each other because I was trying to fight Derek Lewis. That fight didn't ever come. It didn't ever come to fruition. And so John had some press stuff and some, camp tour stuff to do. And so I kind of couldn't do my camp there. And I decided, hey, this is my first fight back. Let me stay home. Let me get around, what I'm used to. And then maybe next fight, we'll go out there as a team and we'll do another camp out there. But I love it out there, man. Coach Greg, everybody out there is amazing. The whole camp situation he's got out there is phenomenal.
That's terrific. That's terrific. I know one of the things too that was a big priority. You've of course referenced your daughter a few times. One of the big things that was a priority for you in the last couple of years was getting Amendment 1 passed in Alabama, which we call Aniah's Law in honor of your late stepdaughter, Aniah Blanchard. Can you explain why that law is so important and helpful to the people in your home state?
For the first thing it does is it gives the judges the discretion to deny bail. A lot of without going into too much detail on my situation because it's still ongoing, but you have a lot of guys who are on the streets that don't deserve to be on the streets because their rap sheets are littered with offenses and violent offenses and things of that nature that they just keep getting bail for. And so it's giving judges the discretion to say, okay, no, we don't need to give this guy bail. We need to do X, Y, and Z and make some, changes around their situation specifically and individually. It's not like a big umbrella for everybody. Everybody doesn't fit the same category. And so I think, with that getting passed, man, it was phenomenal. And the way it passed, it was a bipartisan effort. Both sides of the party came together, or the aisle came together, and they pushed it through, man. Nobody voted no, and it went straight through, bro. It was amazing. It's the first time I think in Alabama state history a law's passed with this kind of speed. And think over 2 million people voted yes. So it just shows you how important people feel about, having safe streets, having the option to, feel comfortable, man, giving us our rights back. So it's just been a blessing, man. And that's what we've been working on. We partner with the UFC as well to do self-defense with Aniah's Heart, our nonprofit. The UFC has been absolutely amazing in that regard, man. They've always been good to me, but in this time of need and my family's time of need, man, they really, really stepped up. And big shout out to them, man. I love them forever for what they've done for us.
And I know, of course, it's not only an ongoing situation, but a very sensitive subject. But I did just want to ask, is there anything you'd like to say about kind of the ongoing case? I know there's been some movement in the case this year. It's been a little slow.
Right.
Is there anything you wanted to say?
I mean, I'm believing and praying that we go to trial in 24. The attorney general is taking over the case, so they're doing a thorough sweep from top to bottom. They've restarted everything. So we're just, we're trying to be patient until we can get that final piece of closure. I think as a family, we're doing well through all of it. But that final piece, it's still needed. We're still, grieving. My wife still has issues from time to time with it. I do as well. But we have a bigger purpose. We're pushing and we're fighting for her, not only physically but mentally, and we're trying to be there for other people as well, to show them that they can make it through this kind of situation for sure.